We woke before the sun one morning in early October as we were heading north to stay in a freshly remodeled A-frame cabin while we searched for peak foliage. And before we left, I harvested the last of my hot pepper crop. And then we set off into the morning sun. The higher elevation areas near home were approaching peak, and we wondered what the color would be like all the way up north. We were nervous that perhaps we had already missed it. And I couldn't pass by my favorite spot without stopping to admire the beauty, as the dreaming tree was starting to turn red. That bright blue sky contrasted against the rainbow leaves can make the world look like a cartoon, but it really is this bright and colorful in real life on certain days. It all depends on the conditions. And so I climbed the dreaming tree and looked through its branches like I do every year, and will do every year I'm able for the rest of my life. After we watched the wind blow leaves onto the pond, we continued onward at a slow pace, stopping anywhere that caught our eye. And so from the dreaming tree, we sailed to the lightning tree, a spot that inspired a recent tune I sang in my last video. And we pulled over by a few swamps, as areas near water often have the best color early on in the season. And we drove past spots we had seen a week or so earlier that had now completely exploded with color. And as we traveled further north, we stopped in areas that were close to peak color and bought some maple sugar candy from a roadside shack. We stopped in little towns and drove that old blue machine into the golden light as the mountaintops turned red and we neared closer and closer to our final stop. And we arrived in the pitch black and woke to a cloud of fog in our beautiful cabin base camp. And by the way, the link to this cabin is in the video description.
I made you coffee.
This is so soft.
I stayed at one of the host's other cabins last fall, and I'm consistently blown away by the quality and style of their spots. We arrived in the dark, morning revealed that the colors hadn't passed at all, but on the contrary, were completely peak.
There's 5 peppers in it.
5?
Mm-hmm.
And so Allie made a beautiful breakfast, and before long, the morning sun dissipated the fog and left us with a glorious autumn day. Allie had never left the Berkshires to see fall, and she had a small list of fall things she really wanted to do. So we set out to experience autumn in true New England fashion. Starting with a corn maze. It was hot in the October sun, but the mountains were on fire and the views were like a storybook. And then we walked along the river a while and listened to the leaves crunch under our feet. And I made sure to take as many deep breaths of autumn air as I could. And when I'd breathe out slow, I'd close my eyes for a brief moment and remember how grateful I am for this life.
Wow.
So thorny.
Then we stopped at a Cabot cheese store and got some snacks for a late lunch before hightailing it to an apple orchard Allie had scoped out. picked apples in the golden light and bought 6 warm, fresh-baked cider doughnuts, too. And then we raced home to our little base camp, where Allie would cook apple crisp while I started a fire in the backyard, and we enjoyed this beautiful cabin before dinner. And we went to bed early, as there were plenty more things to check off Allie's list the next day. And the next morning I made a fire, brewed coffee, and ran around the property one more time, capturing all my favorite details before we had to leave. One of my favorite things about autumn is watching the leaves fall. When you catch them at the right moment, it's completely mesmerizing. And with our hearts full, we packed up and headed out for a day in the woods.
There's a fire going.
And on our way to the hiking trailhead, we passed one of the most vibrant fall displays I've ever seen. A true New England postcard. And so we ran down through the field before heading up through the legendary Smuggler's Notch. We explored the notch before heading off on our first hike, where we had a cider and one of our leftover doughnuts at the top.
Yeah, put the motors on.
And we explored a few more spots before heading back home to the Berkshires. And the whole ride back, I kept thinking of how this was truly one of the best fall trips I've ever been on. Effortlessly beautiful, like a falling leaf in the wind.